We begin in the quiet heart of academia, a university office late at night. It is a space drowning in its own intellect. Books on astrophysics and quantum mechanics are piled high, teetering like ancient forgotten towers. Papers spill across a desk covered in the dense hieroglyphs of advanced mathematics. This is the sanctuary and the prison of Dr. Julian Finch. He stands before a large whiteboard, a sea of white covered in a storm of equations. He is a man in his late 30s, but his eyes hold the weariness of a much older soul. He is staring at a problem in cosmology, the grand architecture of the universe, and he feels as though he is looking at a wall. For years he has felt it, the frustrating, suffocating boundary of conventional thought. He knows the accepted models, the celebrated theories, the comfortable truths that have built careers and won prizes. But to him, they feel like elegant fictions, stories we tell ourselves to keep the terrifying vastness of reality at bay. He picks up a marker, his hand hesitating over a crucial line of his equation. He is on the verge of something, a pattern that no one else sees, but the language to describe it, the very logic to frame it, fails him. With a sigh of profound frustration, he erases the line. The breakthrough recedes, like a word on the tip of the tongue. He turns from the board and walks to his desk. Pushing aside a stack of peer-reviewed journals, he retrieves a single, worn, leather-bound book. It has no flashy cover, no modern acclaim. Its author is Silas Vaughan, a controversial 19th century philosopher dismissed by the mainstream as a charlatan, a nihilist. But to Julian, Vaughan is the only one who ever spoke the truth. He opens to a heavily marked page, his finger tracing a passage as his voice, quiet and measured, fills the room. The masses do not hunger for truth, they hunger for comfort. They build walls of consensus, not for safety, but to avoid the terror of the open plain. To see the real world, one must first be willing to become a monster in the eyes of the comfortable. The mind must be reforged. It must be broken down to its base elements, fear, desire, belief, and rebuilt not in the image of society, but in the image of the cosmos itself, cold, indifferent, and brutally honest. The door opens, and a warm light spills into the dim office. Dr. Iris Thorne, Julian's mentor and department head, stands in the doorway. He is everything Julian is not: charismatic, collegial, a pillar of the academic establishment. He smiles, a practiced, easy expression. "Still wrestling with the ghosts, Julian? I heard there was a breakthrough in the latest gravitational wave data. The team is going for drinks to celebrate. You should come. Genius is about collaboration, not locking yourself away with dead nihilists." Thorne's gaze falls on the Vaughan book in Julian's hands. His smile tightens, a flicker of condescension. "You're still reading that charlatan? Julian, that kind of thinking is a dead end. It's intellectual poison. We build on the shoulders of giants together. We don't burn the whole library down just because we dislike a few chapters. Come on, have a drink. Don't frighten the students away with your intensity." Julian offers a polite, empty refusal. Thorne claps him on the shoulder, a gesture meant to be friendly, but feels like a restraint. As Thorne leaves, closing the door, Julian is left once again in the shadows. He looks from the door, which represents the world of comfortable consensus, to the book in his hands, which represents a terrifying, lonely path. The choice has already been made. He will not join the celebration. He will begin the deconstruction. The transformation began not with a flash of insight, but with a quiet, deliberate purge. Julian's apartment, once a reflection of a life lived, was systematically stripped of its humanity. Fiction novels, with their manufactured emotions and tidy narratives, were boxed up. Personal photographs, relics of a past self,
were put away. Art, designed to soothe and distract, was taken from the walls. His home became a Spartan, white-walled laboratory. The subject of the experiment was his own mind. He sought to break the habitual patterns of thought, the lazy grooves carved by years of routine. He spent hours in the silent black void of a sensory deprivation tank, starving his brain of external stimuli until it was forced to confront its own internal architecture. At first, it was chaos, a storm of memories, anxieties, and fragmented ideas. But slowly, a new kind of clarity emerged. He saw the code behind his own consciousness, the hidden algorithms that dictated his beliefs and emotions. He would sit for hours at a bare table with two opposing texts. On one side, a sacred religious scripture built on faith and parable. On the other, a treatise on quantum mechanics built on probability and cold observation. His goal was not to reconcile them, not to find a comfortable middle ground. His goal was to hold both contradictory truths in his mind at once, to stretch his intellect until it could accommodate paradox without collapsing into the easy comfort of choosing a side. The strain was immense. It felt like tearing a muscle in his soul. He began to observe the world with a terrifying new detachment. He would sit in a bustling cafe, not watching people, but analyzing systems. He saw the predictable orbits of social interaction, the invisible forces of desire and fear that pulled people together and pushed them apart. He saw the unconscious scripts they followed, the comforting illusions they clung to. He was like an astronomer who could suddenly see the hidden dark matter that governed the movement of galaxies. He was beginning to see the source code of reality, and it was rendering the user interface of human society obsolete. The first tremor of the earthquake to come was felt by Elena, a bright PhD student who had always admired Julian's work. She came to his now sterile office seeking help with a problem in stellar dynamics, the life cycle of stars. She laid out her equations, a complex but conventional model. Julian looked at her work, and a long, unnerving silence followed. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, but his words came from a place she couldn't reach. "Your premise is wrong," he said, his eyes not looking at the equations, but through them. "Time is a constant, a river flowing in one direction for both you and the star. It isn't. Time is a property of matter, a dimension woven into its very fabric. Your equation tries to measure the star's life as a sequence of events. But from the star's perspective, bound by its immense gravity, its birth and its death are a single static event. It does not experience a lifespan. It simply is." He tried to simplify it for her. He said, "Imagine a book. You read it page by page, experiencing the story sequentially. But for the book itself, the first word and the last word exist simultaneously. The entire story is a single, complete object. The universe is that book. We're just limited readers." Elena stared at him. She had come for a mathematical correction, a simple tweak to her model. Instead, he had handed her a philosophical grenade. He hadn't just solved her problem, he had invalidated the very question. She stammered a thank you and quickly left his office. She wasn't enlightened. She was frightened. It was like asking a mechanic to fix your car and having him explain that the concept of travel was an illusion. She told a fellow student later, her voice trembling slightly, "It's like he's not one of us anymore." The setting is a prestigious academic symposium, a grand hall filled with the finest minds in physics. This is the inner sanctum of the establishment, a place of polite debate and incremental progress. Today, Dr. Julian Finch is presenting his unified theory. He calls it static cosmology. He walks to the podium. He is no longer the hesitant, awkward man from the office. His movements are precise, his gaze sharp and unwavering. He looks out at the audience, at the faces of his peers and mentors, and he sees not colleagues, but a jury. He begins to speak, his voice clear and devoid of passion. He does not use a flashy presentation, only a whiteboard and a marker. He begins with their own accepted truths, general relativity, the standard model of particle physics. He praises their elegance, their predictive power. He builds a bridge from their world to his. Then, with surgical precision, he begins to dismantle it. We have spent a century trying to reconcile two perfect theories that refuse to coexist. We invent new dimensions, hypothetical particles, desperate patches to stitch them together. We fail because our foundation